Hi all, good morning, good evening. Welcome to day 3 of our exclusive training, JMeter Beginner to Master with Groovy, Dynatrace, Kubernetes, Docker, InfluxDB, Grafana, Jenkins, and BlazeMeter. So we are going through the different phases, right, in the software testing lifecycle, or basically for performance testing. With respect to performance testing, we are going through the different test phases. In the previous session, we have discussed about requirement gathering in details, the different activities which we carry out in that phase, as well as the common challenges which you will find in that phase, right? So I'll repeat, guys, each and every session is going to be recorded. All the documents, all the scripts, whatever I demonstrate in the session will be shared with you all. 90% of the sessions are going to be practically demonstrated, right? And so each and every topic, whatever I'm covering, I'll be covering the interview questions as well, in that particular session. Along with that, once you complete this training, you should be able to successfully clear the, certifications on JMeter from BlazeMeter or vSkills, etc. And let me tell you guys, performance testing is a very niche skill, and there are always openings for performance testing, and you should be able to grow your career successfully with performance testing. By attending my trainings, many people have got new jobs. They have been able to switch from functional to performance testing as well. Okay, well, so get started for the day. Let me start sharing my screen, everyone. I hope my screen should be visible to all of you. Okay, so we have gone through the requirement gathering phase. So the next phase, guys, right? The next phase in the performance testing lifecycle is the test plan and design phase. Quick recap: in requirement gathering, we will understand the application. We will finalize the scope for performance testing. We will finalize the non-functional requirements. And how do you determine which will be the candidates for performance testing? Those user flows which are frequently used, those user flows which are mission critical, they will be in the scope of performance testing, right? And you should always go for finalized scope and finalized non-functional requirements. Once you get the NFRs, you should do the static testing, get your queries clarified from the business analyst. Okay, then also request for the performance test environment, which should be identical to production. The common challenges: getting the finalized scope of non-functional requirements, a big challenge, a common challenge found across different projects, as well as getting a separate performance testing environment which is similar to production, having the monitoring. All those things are a big challenge, but we also discussed the solutions for that, right, in the last session. So before I start for the day, anyone has any other queries? You can unmute yourself and ask your queries, or you can put your questions in the chat as well. Anyone? Any queries?
Sir, I have one. When we send the request to the login or any registration module with the multiple test data, that we called it as a transaction or iteration one.
So first of all, what is your user flow? Is the user registration only your user flow?
Yeah, only registration with the
Okay, very
multiple
good.
test
So
data.
when you will do, no, forget multiple users. Even if you do with single user or you do with multiple user, what is your user flow? Your user flow is user registration, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good. So now you tell me, when you will do the user flow, what will be the steps you will follow? What is the step one?
I just register for it for one flow.
You will directly register.
Yeah.
So you have only one URL.
Yeah.
See, when you are telling the user flow, just imagine that you are an end user, you are using some application. Do you believe any end user will or any application will directly offer the the registration page as the home page?
No. First, we need to go to the home page, and then there should be a button in the
Very good.
register. We need to
So
click it.
that is where I want your understanding. You need to launch the application first, right? Agree or not?
Yeah.
Then you might go for registration, means you can click on sign up, right? Then you will
Yes,
get
sir.
the sign up page. Then you will enter the details, right? Enter the
Yes.
details and sign up. So the user flow which we are telling as one transaction is actually consisting of 3 transactions.
Okay.
Why? What did I tell you? What is a transaction? Who can tell me? What is a
It's a
transaction?
it's a one time we are sending a one request at a time.
No, no, no. That is not transaction. What is a transaction, anyone?
Action performed by the user.
Transaction is something is a measure of throughput, and it's like a number of it's like whenever the user is interacting with the application, any interaction of the user with the server, that is known as transaction.
So the
Any
last part which you told is actually the answer. The first part which you told, that is not completely correct.
any request.
Transactions per second is your throughput, not the transaction. Understood? But yes, as I had told you guys, any interaction, and someone told interaction of the user is transaction. No. As I had told you, there is a form in which there are fields to be filled, entered. You are providing some alphabets in a field which will only accept numbers. It will give you an error, which is because of a client-side validation. That will not be termed as a transaction.
Yeah, sorry, sir. Any request sent to the server.
Yes. No, so I'm not pointing to you. Someone else told, right? Like any interaction of the user with the application is a transaction. I was just trying to clarify that no, that is not the complete answer, because I have already given these examples for not everyone. So any interaction of the user with the application which will result in a request to be sent to the server, that is a transaction. Now all of you tell me, when you are launching the application, will that result in an interaction with the server or not? Will a request go to the server or not? Everyone? All of you can unmute your and answer.
Yes, sir.
Because guys, when I'm presenting my screen, I cannot see if anyone is raising your hand or if you're giving a thumbs up and all. So I prefer, when I'm asking you any questions, please unmute and answer. Let's make this interactive, okay? So launch, right? So you'll get the home page. On the home page, there could be some placeholders to provide the username and password and do the login. And first time user or do you want to sign up, that could be a link which is available. So you will click on that link. Is that a transaction or not? Yes, right? Because when I click on that link, the application will present me a new page, a sign up page, right? Or not, everyone? Then I will enter the details over there and click on submit. So over here, actually my user registration happens. Now this is very generic, means in general an application it is, but someone was telling, right, I have a URL. That can also be possible. To make you more understand as a layman, I told you that actually as an end user, when you are going to use the application, there will be three, 4 steps which you will do for registration. But yes, in a project, you could have API, or let's say they have given you an URL, right, where you can directly register. So when you hit that URL, what will you get? You will get a form where you will fill the details, right? And when you click on submit, right? When you click on submit, what will happen, guys? A request will go to the server. So in that case, this is also a transaction. All of you clear? Now, what is the difference here, guys? In the previous one, my user flow had 3 transactions. And over here, when I'm explaining, this has 1 transaction. This is my user flow, or this also can be my user flow if your application has such kind of scenario. And what is iteration, guys? When I do one complete round of user flow, means I will launch the application, I will click on sign up, I enter the details and submit. That is my one iteration. So all of difference now between iteration and transaction. And what is a transaction? What is an iteration? What is throughput? Everyone understood?
So
Any
like you
queries?
said, when we have a one URL, like a registration URL, the other case, one URL user is filling all the registration details. So we called it as a transaction then?
Yes, this will be a transaction.
Okay, if it's not a iteration. Okay.
No, it will be.
So for
It will also be iteration. It will also be iteration because this is your user flow only, right? Your user flow has only one transaction. When you complete one transaction, that is your one round of user flow. That will be your one iteration. So in this case, your iteration as well as transaction is same.
okay, for one request is act as a transaction and more than one is act as a iteration.
No. You are not understanding. You are thinking based on this example. See, go by my words. You have a user flow. Understood? Any user flow you take. Your user flow can have multiple transactions, or your user flow could have only one transaction. How it will have one transaction? Let me give you a practical example. You have a performance test requirement, okay, that you just have to check that when I launch the application, okay, when I launch the application, how much time does it take to launch the application? So everyone, this is my transaction. This will be my transaction or not?
Yes, it will be
Right.
transaction.
Also, this is my one complete user flow because I have been asked only to test the launch transaction. Understood, everyone?
Okay, for that will act as a iteration.
So this is my one transaction plus this is also my user flow because my user flow has only one transaction.
Okay.
Understood? So when I do one launch, that is my one iteration. When I do second launch, so I do two iteration. When I do third launch, that is my third iteration, and so on. But let's say I have launch, then so this is launch. Okay, then login, log out. I have three transactions, 1, 2, and 3. And this complete one is my one user flow. So my one user flow has three transactions. And when I do launch, login, and log out, one complete round of my user flow, that is one iteration. When I again restart, launch, login, log out, that is my second iteration. So why the iteration comes into picture? Why the iteration comes into picture? I'll cover it in the future session, guys. Okay, because some of you might be having a doubt in your mind now. Why am I repeating? I'm doing launch, login, log out. Then again, why I'm doing launch, login, log out? Then why am I doing launch, login, log out? So what is the need of multiple iterations? I am very much sure some of you would be having that question in your mind now, right?
Yes, multiple test data every time we have.
No, not multiple test data. Yes, one of the scenario is multiple test data, but there are multiple aspects of it which we will see in the future session. That is in the test execution phase. Okay, all of you. So
in performance testing, we'll do the multiple test data. Also, we need to test only one time in the performance. We have to do the multiple test data.
Come to that. Let's go phase by phase. Yeah.
Okay.
So by the end of 3-4 sessions, you will have all the answers to your questions.
Okay, sir.
Any other questions, anyone?
Do we have the performance testing for APIs also in the syllabus?
Yes, we have performance testing for APIs also in the syllabus or in the course, basically.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, anyone? Good that you all are asking questions. Very good. So coming to the first activity in the test plan and design phase, guys, you need to create a performance test strategy and a performance test plan. Now, in case of waterfall model projects, that is very much religiously followed, but nowadays you will rarely find waterfall. So nowadays most of the projects are on agile. In agile, the focus is on less documentation, so you do not go for a complete test strategy, test plan, but you definitely need to come up with the test strategy, right? The test approach, whatever you have to follow. So guys, I will be sharing the test strategy template, the performance test strategy template. So what is your performance test strategy? What is your approach going to be? So you have got in the requirement gathering, you got your scope, right? What are your scenarios? What are your non-functional requirements? And in order to test that requirement, in order to verify that requirement, what will be your test strategy, guys? So that will come in the performance test strategy. So what is the objective? What are the different types of tests which you have to do? What is your environment configuration? What is your test data? So many things. Who are all the different stakeholders in the project? You know, the RACI metrics like the who is responsible, who is accountable, who is consulted, who is informed, or basically the roles and responsibilities, to keep it simple, guys. Okay, so we will have the test strategy document which we have to prepare. Once you prepare the test strategy document, now the test strategy will actually be prepared by the performance test lead. Okay, a performance test engineer normally is a junior role, so they will not be basically dealing with performance test strategy. The performance test lead will, prepare the test strategy document. And once that is done, what will you do? You will do a peer review, guys. Peer review. The peer review means getting it reviewed among your internal stakeholders, among your internal team members. Before going to the customer, do an internal review in your team. Once you do the review, whatever feedback you get, share that, incorporate that feedback. Incorporate the feedback into your document and then publish that or do a walkthrough of the test strategy with the customer. Once you do the walkthrough, then they will give some feedback, incorporate that feedback. And then once you incorporate the feedback, ask for the approval from the stakeholders. Okay, ask for the approval from the stakeholders. Similarly, for the test plan. Now, test plan is a more detailed document, guys. Test strategy, in general, people follow, the format as slides or a deck which they will present because it will be brief. But test plan will be a very detailed document which will be your Bible, basically, for your performance testing. That I'm also going to share the test plan template. So once your test strategy is approved, you will go and design the test plan document. That will be very detailed. Again, once you document the test plan, get it reviewed within your peers. Whatever feedback you receive, incorporate the feedback. Then do the walkthrough with the customer. Whatever feedback you get, incorporate the feedback, and then ask for the approval, guys. Okay, so test strategy, test plan. Clear, everyone? Let me quickly bring up the test strategy template. Someone asked walkthrough with the customer means you will present it to the customer, right? Your project stakeholders. Understood? You will do the walkthrough or you will present it to the customer. One moment.
Shakti here, what is the difference between test strategy and test plan? What we are going to be cover in that two phases?
Yes, let me. Yeah, as I told you, test strategy is basically your approach. Okay, on a high level, you are going to document what is your strategy basically. But test plan, once your strategy is approved, then you will come up with your test plan document. Understood? Which will be a very detailed document. So let me bring you the, let me show you the.
Like what kind of test we are going to be conduct? What is the ESS load capacity like that?
Yeah, I'm sure I'm bringing up the template. Okay, someone asking that happens after performance testing, right? Giving demo. No, after the performance testing, you will present your test report, not your test strategy. Understood? Okay, I didn't see the chat. So there are some answers also which people have given. So very good. The functionality which hits the server, request sent from client to server. Very good. Okay, so I'll start sharing my screen, everyone. Is my screen visible to all of you? So this is a generic performance test strategy document where we are basically, overall approach for performance testing we are going to show to the customer. Okay. So then you basically write down the objectives. So these are some generic content which I have provided. Okay. Then what will be your key performance indicators which you will measure? What is your scope for your performance testing? Then what are the different types of tests which you will do? Okay. So here in the scope, you will put what is in scope, what is out of scope. Okay. Then in the test types, like what all different types of tests you are going to do, load test. Okay. So these ones I'll explain, guys. What are the different types of tests? Then workload model. This is very, very important. Okay. Then the test environment details. Then the what all test tools you are going to use. Then the risk management. Then the test execution plan, what all tests you are going to do, basically how you are going to execute your tests. Then what all deliverables you are going to give at the end of the project, guys. So this is basically a test strategy which is brief. Okay, yes, the content is less here. You will put in some more content, some diagrams and all. You can also present it in the form of a deck or in the form of a PowerPoint or slides. However, people prefer Word document or slides, that depends on the individual. Similarly, you could have the test. Sorry, my bad, guys. I brought up the test report template. So here in the performance test plan, you see here you will provide the introduction, what are your objectives. So this content will be a bit lengthier, guys. Then the scope, what is your scope, what are the test environment details, workload design, test tools, test execution plan, the roles and responsibilities, the test data dependency. Okay, so you will provide all those details. Now someone was asking, you will do after performance testing. So whatever approach you are going to follow, are you going to show it at the end? No, right? You first of all show the approach, get the approval from the customer, then you will basically do that. Clear? Also, guys, one point I would like to highlight here, many projects will have their templates of their own. Okay, the project will have the templates of their own. Whenever your project already has a template for test strategy, or your project already has a template for test plan, please follow the project template. Okay, remember this. Whenever your project already has a template, please follow the project template. If your project does not have the template, in that case, what you do, you will come up with a template. Get the template reviewed first. Once you get the approval on the template, then you go and put in content in that. So you all understand what is a template and what is the full document, right? Template is basically a skeleton. Then you add flesh to that, right? That becomes a document. Clear, everyone? Then, guys, test data approach. Someone was asking multiple user. Very good. So test data is very, very important for performance testing. There is a scenario, guys. Launch, login, logout. we'll keep it simple, okay? Launch, login, logout. Here, guys, we will need user credentials in the login phase. Agree all of you with me?
Yes.
Okay. If I have to log in with a one user, how many credentials will I need?
One.
One. Very good. Now, if my application, please listen to me carefully, okay? If my application does not allow multiple logins from a single credential at the same time, okay, I repeat, if my application under test does not allow login or multiple logins from a single credential at the same time, I have to do the test with 500 users, for example. How many user credentials will I need?
500.
One.
500.
500. How can you do it one? I told the precondition, right? My application will not allow multiple logins from a single credential at the same time, but I have to test with 500 users. So how many credentials do I need? 500. Similarly, if I want to do 1000 users, 1000 credentials. If I want to do 10,000, 10,000 credentials. Now, who is going to prepare this, right? This is my test data or not? Now, this I'm giving a very simple example, guys. Launch, login, logout. There can be many more complex scenarios. And by now, you have already understood the application in the requirement gathering phase. So you would have already figured out what is your test data going to look like. You already have got the non-functional requirements. In that, you will already have the user volume. So from there, you would already know what is my test data going to look like. What is the volume of test data I need? Understood, everyone? That is the importance of test data in performance testing. Let's say you had to do the functional testing for launch, login, logout. How many login credentials would you need, guys? At max, approximately?
3 to 4.
3 to 4, right? Some valid credentials, some invalid credentials. Agree? But in performance testing, depending on your volume, you will need the test data. So you have to clearly have an approach in your mind how you want to create your test data in your project. Okay. You always prefer for automation, guys. Now, previously, what was happening, means 5 years, 6 years back, test data was getting created by functional testing team or automation testing team. Then they were handing over the test data to performance testing team. So performance testing team would give the requirement to the functional testing team or the automation testing team to create the test data for them. And then they will provide the test data. Performance testing team will do the tests. But now the situation is different, guys. Everyone wants to do their own activity only. So nowadays it is the ownership of the performance testing team only to create the test data. Some projects, they have a test data management team. Okay, some projects, not all. Okay, so some projects have a test data management team. So that test data management team creates the test data. But most of the time, the performance testing team will have to create the test data. There is a challenge to that, guys. Creation is a second thing. The first thing is application functionality understanding, right? So whatever is in your scope, please understand the application carefully so that you can think of the test data accordingly. Okay. Now, always go for automation. Whenever you're trying to create the test data, the approach, whatever you're thinking, try to think of automation. Prefer automation. Try to do a script. Try to develop a script. Using JMeter also, you can create test data. Understood? You can create test data using JMeter. How, guys? For example, I need 1000 credentials, right? What will I do? I'll develop a script for user registration. Understood? I'll develop a script in JMeter for user registration. I'll give 1000 test data. Okay, I'll give 1000 test data to this particular script. I'll run this 1000 times. I'll run this 1000 times. So those 1000 test data will be consumed, and those 1000 credentials will be registered. So now I can use the same 1000 for login. Did all of you understand? So when I say test data approach, you have to think of how you are going to create the test data. Prefer automation. If you're not able to automate, go for manual test data creation. Okay.
No, for creating test data, which tool you are going to use? Either you can use JMeter or any other automation tool that you want to use.
It is up to you. JMeter might not be the solution always. So you might want to go for, some automation tools. Clear? Okay. So
do
you
you have
have
any
to,
recommendation for that automation tool? It's going to create a only test data.
it will depend from application to application. Some people can write SQL scripts also to create the test data, right? So it will depend from application to application. So that is why I told you in the requirement gathering phase, you would have already understood the application. You would have already got the requirements. So based on that, come up with your test data approach. And
So
this,
in some cases, the customer doesn't have the test data, and they ask us to create a test data. Right? They don't have any. From our side, we will be able to give the recommendation to the customer that we need to create how we are going to create a test data. So in that kind of situation, that how we can handle this situation.
that is what I'm telling you. It will differ from application to application. The same thing will not be applicable, to all the applications. It cannot be an umbrella tool. Understood? It cannot be a blanket tool. Okay, so once you determine your test data approach, we'll see in the future sessions, we are going to develop scripts, we are going to create test data. So I'll show you how to create test data. Okay. Next, test environment setup. So you would have already requested for the test environment in the previous phase. Now let's assume that you got your test environment. So you have to set up your test environment. When I'm saying test environment, it refers performance test environment, because we are discussing performance testing in this training. Okay. So you will set up your test environment. What is your requirement, guys? Very, very important. Stable application should be deployed on your performance test environment. Remember, one very important entry criteria for performance testing is that whatever application you are testing, whatever user flow you are testing, that should be functionally working, guys. So see, I'm the master. Other teams will check, development team will ensure that they have developed a proper application. Functional testing team will check that yes, the functionality is working. I will just ask a confirmation from them. If they give me the confirmation that yes, the functionality is working, I will proceed with my performance test design. If they say functionality is not working, I'll say no, I'm not going to proceed. Understood? So one very important criteria or entry criteria for performance testing is that your stable application build should be available. If application should be functionally working, whatever user flows is there in your scope, it should be functionally working. All of you understand this? Next, server monitoring should be in place. What is server monitoring? Now, when the user is using the application, the request will go to the server, right? This is my client, this is my server. So when the server is going to process these requests, right, the server is going to do some work or not, right? So if, for example, take your personal desktop, laptop, whatever, mobile. If your mobile is idle, does it heat up? No. But if you play game on your mobile, it will heat up, right? Similarly, your laptop or desktop, if you do not do anything, will your laptop become slow? or will it, what do they say? Will it, sometimes they do not respond. So will that occur? No. But if you are doing a lot of tasks at the same time and all, so it could start not responding. Why, guys? Who can tell me? Anyone?
Can you repeat, sir? It was not perfectly.
So, okay. So let me give some examples. If I'm not working on my laptop, okay, it's just switched on. I'm not using it at all. So is there a probability or is it likely that my system will not respond or my laptop will hang? No, right?
No.
Or will it hang, guys? No, right?
Yeah.
But if I am doing a lot of tasks at the same time on my system or on my laptop, and if there is a likelihood that it might not respond, or it could become a bit slow. Agree, all of you?
Yes.
Why
Yes.
is that the case, everyone?
Due to the server capacity.
CPU and memory consumption is more.
Very good. CPU. See, you all know performance testing. Memory, disk, right? So these all are there in your laptop. Similarly, guys, these all are there in your servers also. Right or not? Now, if my CPU utilization is 60%, if my CPU utilization is 100%, which one is better, guys?
60%.
For the same task, okay, let's say, guys, for the same task, my CPU utilization is 60% or my CPU utilization is 100%. Which one is better?
60%.
CPU utilization of 60% is better because CPU utilization of 100% might result in server not responding. Agree or not? Similarly, available memory, if it is on the higher side, it is good. If it is on the lower side, it is not good. So how is my server getting utilized? That is also very, very important, guys. Now, in the previous sessions, I told you about some terminologies like response time, throughput. These all are my client side response time, guys. Sorry, client side metrics. Okay, client side metrics, because it is impacting the user, right? But along with that, you need server side metrics also, and many people forget this aspect. Now, how will you get server side metrics? You can only get server side metrics if your servers are monitored. Okay, if your servers are monitored. All of you clear? So server monitoring should be there on your servers so that during your performance test, you can find out how these servers are responding. All of you clear? Next. So you need to ensure that stable application is deployed on your test environment. You need to ensure that server monitoring is in place. So server monitoring can be done by different commercial tools like Dynatrace, AppDynamics, Datadog, Neuralink, etc. Or if commercial tools are not available, for Windows you can go for Puffmon. For Linux you can, you can go for Nmon, some open source, okay, or means the inbuilt monitoring. But commercial ones are always better. And as part of this training, we are going to cover Dynatrace. From performance testing point of view, whatever topics are required for server monitoring, we will cover them for Dynatrace as part of this training. Clear, everyone? Okay, I think someone was asking a question.
Sir, you said like memory is an issue, right? So we have this memory leak in performance testing.
Sorry, what do we have?
Can we monitor the memory leaks also in performance testing?
Yes, that is one of the objectives.
Okay.
Okay, that is one of the objectives, to identify if memory leaks are there in the application or not.
Okay.
And for that, we do a specific type of testing as well. Okay, I'll come to that. Okay. Next. Test tools.
Yes. No, I have a question. So you mentioned, right? So we have monitoring tools on the Windows and Linux platform. So will performance testing this activity differ on which platform it's built? So if it's a web application, will it change if it's being used on a Windows operating system or on a Linux one?
Means what will change?
The OS will change, but
I understood your application might be deployed on Windows or your application might be deployed on Linux. But what is your question basically?
Yeah, so our tools will change, but the performance testing as such, so wherever we are running it from, right, say using JMeter or any other tool, so will the approach change because it's Windows or Linux, or will the
No, that
approach
is
be
not going
same?
to change. That is not going to change because your JMeter is your client.
Okay.
Understood. So that is going to change when your load generator is different. For example, in one project, you have to deploy JMeter on Windows operating system. In another project, you have to deploy JMeter on Linux. In that case, that your approach might change. But how is your application going to be deployed? That is not under your control, right? That is basically the design, architectural part, right? Whether they're going to use Windows, they're going to use Linux. So based on the servers, whatever are being used, you can go for the monitoring tools. Nowadays, we have the Kubernetes, right? So on Kubernetes, we deploy the applications. Or we have the Azure cloud, we have the AWS cloud, we have the Google cloud. So many things are there. Understood?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Then guys, test tool feasibility. Very, very important, guys. Why we do this? Now we have understood the application, we have understood the scope. The next thing is which performance testing tool should we use for our application? Remember, your application, right? Whatever you have got to do the performance test, it might not be compatible with every performance testing tool. So you have to do a test tool feasibility analysis or a proof of concept, POC. We call it as a POC. So it will mainly depend on the application protocol, guys. Which protocol your application uses. Now, JMeter is an open source performance testing tool. LoadRunner is a commercial performance testing tool. So definitely LoadRunner is going to support a lot of application protocols. But to use LoadRunner, your customer need to be ready to pay the price, right? To purchase the license, to procure the license. Understood, everyone? So you have to determine which test tool you are going to use. Now, what is the approach here, guys? Remember, if your customer has already procured a performance testing tool, for example, you had not joined the project, okay, and beforehand itself they had purchased the performance testing tool, then your first preference should be that particular tool. You need to do a feasibility analysis, and if that is successful, well and good, you just proceed with that tool. But let's say there is no tool procured and the customer asked you that you suggest the tool. So then you, based on your experience, if it is a web application, you will most probably propose JMeter, because that is not going to cost the customer. Customer will be very happy. They will be happy on the budget, right? So free of cost, you will be able to do the tests, right? But there could be some protocols which JMeter will not support, right? So for that, you need to know which all protocols will be supported by JMeter, which all protocols are supported by LoadRunner, which all protocols are supported by new load. Based on that, you will do the test tool feasibility analysis. Clear, everyone? So you will do a test tool feasibility analysis, and whichever performance testing tool is compatible. Now, if your customer is not ready to purchase, commercial tool, then you have to think with open source tools only. Agree? Okay.
So who will be doing this, sir? The test tool, because we know only JMeter, for example. Then how do we ensure, like, okay, this application we can go with JMeter. We need to sit with the pod tech.
So let's say you know only JMeter. Okay. So before joining the project, please check with your project manager or check with whoever. So before they onboard you to the project, they will tell you, right, what tool they're using it. Agree or not?
Okay.
So get information on that. Without understanding, without getting that information, do not accept the project. For example, you know only JMeter. You join the project, they tell you that no, you have to do that in load runner. So you are stuck. You have to learn load runner. Then probably you might have to join my training again for learning load runner. Just on a lighter note, guys. Clear, everyone? So whenever you are going to join a project, please understand what testing tool they are going to use. Is there a plan to use any tool? Now let's say there is no plan of any tool. They don't know. Okay, they do not know performance testing. What next? Ask them, how is the application about? What kind of application is it? So from that you will get some idea, right? What could be the protocol and all. Or you can directly ask also, is it a web application or is it API? Now if it is web application, JMeter will be there. If it, if it is API, JMeter can do. If it is database, JMeter can do. We'll see the protocols of JMeter, whatever it supports later. If it is FTP, JMeter can do. Understood? If it is messaging queues, JMeter can do. So you have to have that idea that what is the application about. So did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Very good.
So, sir,
All of you understanding? Yeah, tell me.
JMeter do the desktop application?
What kind of desktop application? Because desktop application can be of different types, right?
Yeah, it's Electron application.
So we'll go to when we'll go to JMeter features, we'll discuss that. Okay.
Okay.
Next. So once you have determined which test tool you are going to use, once you get the environment, what is your next step, guys? You will create your test scripts. You will develop your test scripts. So as part of test script creation, guys, these are some of the steps which we do in performance testing, irrespective of the tool. These are the generic steps. Script recording you will do correlation, you will do parameterization, then you need to follow some best practices. Once you develop these scripts, you will do a review, peer review of your test scripts. Okay, and your test scripts are your deliverables. Okay, your test scripts are your deliverables. So you need you need to properly develop the test scripts, guys. Next, guys, very, very important is, so what is correlation, what is parameterization? I'll cover them in the respective sessions, okay, in details. Then what you have to do? You have to do the workload model design. Very, very important. Now, what is workload model? So when we are going to execute the test, some work has to be done by the system, by the servers, right? Now, we would already have the NFRs given to us. Understood? We have to verify the NFRs. We have to meet the NFRs. Now, in order to meet the NFRs, in order to design our test correctly, test execution. So this workload model design will be required for test execution, so that you are doing the correct test. Okay. So we have to design the workload on the system. So how can you do that? So you will do that in the test plan and design phase, guys, once your test scripts are ready. So we do that using Little's law. Little's law actually states V is equal to TPS multiplied with response time. Okay. But we extend that to this formula. We extend that to this formula. V is equal to TPS multiplied with summation of RT plus P plus TT. And now you see, guys, these terms you already know, right? V is number of virtual users, TPS, transactions per second, RT is response time, P is pacing, TT is think time. So using this formula, we will design the workload model. Now we'll discuss workload model in details in the future session. Very, very important, guys. In the interviews, you will definitely get questions on this. And then coming to the challenges, some of the common challenges is getting the approval on the test strategy, test plan. Okay, there will always be a delay. You will see that there will always be a delay in getting the approval and tool feasibility. So if your application is complex, you might be, it might be challenging for you to decide on the performance testing tool, what you have to use, what you want to use. Similarly, test script creation could also be a challenge, guys. Sometimes if there are complex scenarios, if the application technology stack is complex, sometimes it could be challenging. But most of the times you do some research, you will be able to sail through. Okay. So these are the different activities in the test plan and design phase. Some of the common challenges which you discussed. Any questions, anyone? Any questions, anyone?
Sir, I have one, like you mentioned in Kubernetes, something AWS. So we have to do the performance test in different like Windows, Linux, in different environment, or it will be um,
No.
performance.
Basically, whatever is your application all about. Your project might not be following Kubernetes. Your project might not be following Azure. Your project might not be following AWS. So they will have their application deployed on a particular server, right? That you don't have to bother. They will give you the environment. That depends on the architecture, design of your application, how they are going to deploy that application in production. Understood or not?
Okay.
Yeah. So based on that, it will be the case-to-case scenario.
So what we need to do, like we need to install the JMeter in any one of the environment, like Windows or anywhere, Linux, and then we need to hit the.
You will install the JMeter on your load generator machine. Okay.
Okay, and that doesn't matter whether it's in Linux, Windows. Performance testing will be
That will
same.
depend. That will depend on your project. If they do not have any Windows servers, they will give you Linux, right? Understood or not? It depends from project to project. But most of the times they will ask you what kind of load generator do you want. Understood?
My simple question is that like the performance testing we need to check in different environment also. Like we need to install the JMeter example, like a performance testing tool in a different operating system also to check that the application is working in good in Windows, good in Linux.
So
Like we are doing browser compatibility, like a operating system.
One moment. Let me draw a figure. This is client. This is server. You understand what is client, right?
Yeah.
What is a client?
Client can be our application URL.
Is it?
That we're hitting. Client can be a browser.
Client will be a browser. That is correct. Your application URL is hosted on the server. Understood?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So why will you go and test in Windows and Linux and blah, blah, blah? Your application is hosted here. You have to test this server. Understood? So whatever load generator, this is my load generator machine. Instead of browser, I'll use JMeter. So whatever load generator they give me, I'll test from that load generator. While I go and test in Windows, Linux and all, is the performance going to change? Because my server is the same, right?
Okay.
And also vice versa. I don't need to install the application in different servers or different operating systems of servers, right? Because why? Because that is already decided how my application is going to be deployed in production. The same way you are going to get the application. Clear?
Yes, sir. So we need to only test the server. So that is a development going to decide where they want. That doesn't matter to
That
us
will be
test.
decided by the project, the solution architect, and the development team, how they are going to deploy the application in production. Okay.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Okay. I think we'll stop the session here today, guys. Anyone has any other questions?
So just one question related to little slow actually. So while little slow, we have written that volume is equal to TPS into the formula. So in case if you have to calculate the pacing and your one script is having multiple transaction, so your think time will be the sum of all the think times, or it will be the average
We'll
of
discuss.
think time in
We'll,
that particular script.
we'll discuss different scenarios related to the workload model in the session with respect to workload model. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, anyone? I hope you all enjoyed today's session, guys. We'll stop the session here today. Thank you for joining.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.